Since President-elect Trump's victory last week, there is no shortage of pundits with predictions for the economy in his new administration. Yet there is one area of the economy that has already seen a historic reaction. We're talking about the crypto industry. Many believe that the digital asset industry is poised for even more explosive growth. Joining me now is NYU professor and the CEO of Rubicon Digital Assets, Greg Johnson, our local source for all things crypto. Greg, good to see you here. Can you tell us more about the moves, these historic moves with crypto? I was watching on election night, even as it appeared that Donald Trump was going to win, the crypto numbers, Bitcoin, were just shooting through the roof. What's the broader impact on the industry as he takes his role in this new administration?
Well, Jonathan, you're not alone, obviously. And let me just say, it would be the understatement of the year probably at this point to say that there was just a modest Trump bump. This movement we've seen in the crypto markets is absolutely historic, Jonathan. And I have to say it's exceeded all expectations, including this pundit. Many people believed, and I still maintain, that had a Democrat won the presidential election, we still would have seen movement trending upward in the crypto markets. But it's fair to say nothing in the order that we've witnessed over the last week plus now. We are eclipsing record after record with each and every day. And frankly, I don't see that ending anytime soon. That's the short-term story. That's the big headline. But as you alluded to, there are broader implications for the long term that we really need to start talking about and wrapping around. First and foremost, it's not just Bitcoin that has seen an explosion in valuation. It's actually the entire digital asset industry, the crypto mining industry, and in fact, many corporations that were wise to hold even a little bit of crypto have seen their numbers rise, their valuations rise. I think what we're really expecting in the beginning of the year is sweeping changes in Washington, D.C. in a Republican administration that includes the SEC. It certainly would include the CFTC and many of the other departments that have held back American leadership in the crypto and digital asset industry. And that is really important because when that piece is in play, you're likely to see a very, very big change in corporate treasury investing. What does that mean? It means that corporations, big companies, just like you and I, they have investment portfolios of their own. And for the most part, with a couple of notable exceptions, one of them being Tesla, the other being MicroStrategy, those are the sensational names that have made it a business of owning Bitcoin on their balance sheet. When you start seeing more regulation in Washington and normalization of crypto, which is expected in this administration, my prediction is you're going to see more and more small, medium, and global corporations owning Bitcoin and indeed, maybe even other cryptocurrencies on their balance sheets. Oh, and by the way, one last thing for this point. The United States actually is the nation that owns the most Bitcoin. Now, we didn't buy it, but we seized it due to our law enforcement efforts. In fact, the United States, with the record highs we saw today and overnight, we have 19 billion of Bitcoin in the Treasury Department at present. So it's a big story.
So what does this mean, all these changes, what does it mean for the average investor?
You almost never want to buy when it's the absolute high in a market if you're planning on liquidating in the short term. So my advice to folks is the same advice we've been providing here in these segments over the past 4 years, is if you have a long-term outlook, then crypto is a decent place for a small piece of your overall portfolio. You still want to maintain, despite these historic highs, and my phone's been ringing off the hook, from people I haven't heard from in 5, 6, 7 years, wanted to get some advice on this. The reality is we're at all-time highs. You never want to buy in at an all-time high if your intention is to make money quickly, which is never a good idea anyway. You need to have a long-term, not just a long-term time horizon, but the longest-term time horizon. So I think that's a big piece. Remember, crypto remains a highly, highly volatile asset class, and I don't even see that changing over the next 4 years, even in a Trump administration.
Greg, I understand you also have a positive update on the story that we brought you here on 11 Alive earlier this year.
You did. In fact, I really applaud the 11 Alive team for being literally one of the first American media outlets to cover this story. You know, I mentioned that we have in the United States over 19 billion of Bitcoin. Well, there's one individual that was responsible for most of the seizures of that Bitcoin. And as we talked about here many months ago, in fact, back in February for the first time, a former IRS law enforcement agent by the name of Tigran Gambaryan, with local ties here to the metro Atlanta area, was suddenly, unexpectedly, and wrongfully detained in Nigeria by the government. Now, Nigeria had a beef with the company that he was trying to turn around with their compliance efforts. And he was used as a pawn and as a scapegoat and suffered a horrible incarceration for the majority of this year. And again, I'd like to point out that if we like the fact that we have 19 billion in our treasury of Bitcoin, it's because of the work of this agent. And so I think we're all happy that he has finally been released and been returned to the United States.
Good to hear that update. Greg Johnson, the CEO of Rubicon Digital Assets. I have a feeling we're going to be talking to you a lot more in the coming months. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it, Jonathan. Thank you.